Mario Hezonja had struggled a little bit in the first 2 games.
Wow. Gary
I'm looking to get the ball to Buddy Hield. He's in one of those zones. Let him just take the shots right now.
Yeah, that was a quick shot by
Yes, it was.
To the timeout. Tatum guarding Trent Jr. tightly. Ooh,
I like him.
Those notes. But so many of these fans felt the need to come and express themselves. And led by Damian Lillard, really picked up Trent. That's a throw.
Terry Stotts has coached him his entire career in the NBA. And congratulations to Coach Stotts. His
Quarter for Dallas. Incredible mark right now. Nice spinner inside by Trent, who's down.
So that will cap off a fun one here tonight.
For the Wizards, Garrison Matthews at the scorers table. Trent in the paint, little turnaround shot.
Portland has won 5 of the last 7. Trent will drive on Clarkson.
going back into the rotation tonight.
Doesn't surprise me playing against a small ball team especially. Mario Hezonja had struggled a little bit in the first 2 games.
Wow. Get the ball to Buddy Hield. He's in one of those zones. Let him just take the shots right now.
Yeah, that was a quick shot by
Yes, it was. And that makes it
5 of the last 7. Trent will drive on Clarkson.
No, definitely not the king, but my phone does have a 407 area code.
Our State Farm audio assist thanks to Mario Hezonja. And Memphis is down to the Celtics. The steal for Melo and Trent.
With the board. Flips it up ahead. Gary Trent Jr. in the open court. Goes up and say it with the chest, Gary Trent Jr.
Heating up. He's got 8 straight for the Clippers, but he gives it away. Trent looking for the angle, and he's got it for 2.
And one bounce inside bounce, and here he goes. Both sides of the floor.
Gary Trent Jr. will try another 3. Hey, the pin's off the chain, Lamar.
Remember, I guess joking about kicking Nurk in the shin. Get up!
20. Trent Jr. staying with it, comes over the steal. And then Kobo covered.
Pass ahead to Trent. Steps in and scores. Gary Trent.
Flying in, can't convert. And that's rust. That's all that is rust. With a spinning move with 3. Less than halfway through the 3rd. So they bounded back, break away after the steal, and a hit pocketed by Carmelo. Gets it out to Trent by himself. Nice spin into a Woody ball. And
Turnover. Trent Jr. streaking down and throws.
Langston Galloway. Pass got away. Trent Jr. with a...
Ariza, a hit ahead for Trent Jr. Duncan's back. Didn't matter. Trent Jr.
Rebound. 34-27. Portland in front. Trent Jr. connects on a 3. Memphis. Trent Jr. able to snare the tip and finish on the other end. Looked like he might have lost the handle a little bit, but now Trent Jr. on the steal and the...
Damian, long diagonal. Trent on that lead pass. Powers took
that and only took a small clip. Gary Trent Jr.
7 from the field here. Gary Trent at the other end. And Gary Trent made a gallant effort at it. Trent off the baseline. What defense? Lillard. Trent up and down.
Didn't have an angle at the rim. Here's Gary Trent, down low, goes at Burton. And taken away. Trent with all kinds of steam going to the rim and scores.
Anthony in transition. If he got a piece of it, you should have to go to the bench immediately.
Numbers here for Portland. Trent Jr. drive inside, able to get the finish.
He played well.
Lose, they are out. And Phoenix is in against Memphis. Trent, 15-footer.
Played on Saturday night. They fell in Atlanta by 12, 129 to 117.
Gary
Trevor moves in, gets right to the hole and lays it in.
Portland last played on Saturday night. They fell in Atlanta by 12, 129 to 117.
Trevor moves in, gets right to the hole and lays it in.
Restart. That is 6 more per game than what they did pre-pandemic, and it's because of points.
9 assists, 4 rebounds, 5 rebounds, 4 steals. And Trent Jr. able to...
McCollum to Trent. Trent to the hoop for the dunk.
Melo backs him down inside and kicks it out. And Trent Jr.
You guys going to make me cry in the first quarter?
I hope so.
Well, range. Off to Trent. Gary drives it inside, pushes one up and in. Finds Labissiere at the foul line. Off it goes to Trent. Corner jumper.
85, 84. They get the ball out of Lillard's hands. Trent Jr. and another lane.
Thurl, you said it right. Carmelo accepting the role. This is,
4 of their shot attempts and have a 9-3 lead with 2 minutes gone by. This is Trent, and he knocks it down. Hottest defending here on Carmelo Anthony. Now Trent, nice move. Gary. 1 point Brooklyn lead. Down court, Trent. 3. Oh, he's a flamethrower.
Burks up top, stolen by Hazonia. The little handoff by Pell, and Hazonia finds Gary Trent Jr. in the corner.
Get into it quickly. Trent. Oh, yeah. Gary Trent 4. Westbrook trying to get back defensively. Stepping into it. Gary Trent Jr. has been.
Gary Trent. Yes, again, Gary.
The sideline, and CJ regains control. Hazonia to the corner. Gary Trent Jr. Clip.
2 for 1 there, but you don't get a good shot.
Yeah. That one was. Back come the Blazers. Trent Jr. Catch and shoot 3.
Bam, 5 for 13. Trent Jr. That's a killer.
Anthony faked the shot, and Trent.
Mentor young players, and that's why you see a lot of these young players paying tribute to him. I think it's just like welcoming people to the league.
And to Lillard. Lillard's got 14. In the corner, Trent.
Shoots and misses, and the rebound taken by Trent. Yeah, Hazonia took a hard spill in the first half. Already had a tricky back.
Like a lot of open space.
Lillard drives and kicks. Gary Trent.
Right side, Hazonia. McCollum kicks it out. Trent 3. Bullseye.
Coach, you got him.
Lillard throws to Trent. A 3 is good.
Size on Damian Lillard. They put Dorian Finney-Smith on him. Coming.
Gabriel. Second chance opportunity.
Of guys making jump shots over the top.
Gary Trent Jr. Backdoor. Lillard. Kick out. Trent shooting practice. Book it. A 3.
Simon's up top, draws 2 Nugget defenders. Gary Trent Jr. from the corner. And Gary Trent, what shoots? CJ kicks it back up top. Gary Trent Jr. will knock down another. Played the Spurs yesterday and got the win. Gary Trent Jr. has got all sorts of time.
And pick and roll, but on the side. Mix it up a little bit. Gary!
The Collins screen. Splits some Denver defenders. Finds a wide open Gary Trent Jr. And you know it went.
Down the stretch here has been incredible.
Trent to 3. He's got it.
Semi Ojeleye guarding him. Back out to Gary Trent. That's good.
Mark Davis, the official.
Gary Trent back in. Gary Trent, another Lillard. Throws it back out. Gary Trent Jr. Bang!
Handles with 5 seconds left. Dame takes it to the middle. Kicks it to the corner. Gary Trent Jr. puts the Blazers. Feeds it to Gary Trent Jr. Dame. Pump fake back to Gary Trent Jr. for the corner 3. And that falls.
Terry Stotts open the bench can give him a lift because right now the starters are getting shut down. Here's Trent. That's what you want from a big lead. Here's McCollum back. Trent. And he answers.
To Anthony. To Trent Jr.
They've got their numbers. Swanigan the offensive rebound. Trent with a 3. Again, double digits is McCollum at halftime. Here is a Trent 3, and he puts 8 that Oladipo has played. Trent 3. Good. McCollum the leading scorer without Damian Lillard. And Gary already 16 assists. And we have 8 minutes to go here on the second.
Gary Trent sends it back to C.J. McCollum. That's Gary Trent Jr. makes the corner.
Caught it with one hand and used the backboard to bank it in.
Trent Jr., another three for him.
A quick one at the top of the key.
That's good. What a bench
cut. Looked like he got away with a travel. Trent's three is good.
Anthony rotates it to Trent, and he swishes the three. Into the corner, and the jumper is good by Trent. Sets him up again. Trent wide open. Third quarter to take control here late in this one. Trent Jr.
Motors across midcourt, steers into the lane where he sees two bodies out to Trent. He'll launch on a quick trigger.
In this league, if you can't shoot the three, you're not going to play long. Trent.
My good. Look, he's getting double teamed out by half court. Gary Trent. Jumper is good. Shot clock turned off. No fouls to give. Trent. Corner three. Got it.
Back in. Lillard splits the defense. Trent Jr.
Good job by Sabonis.
Then they spread the floor, and Trent Jr. for three.
That's for champ.
One of the great places to visit in the NBA. Trent three. Card.
Doncic. More rest on the bench.
Gary Trent Jr. Think about that. 13. Ariza in the matchup with Doncic and Lillard. And Trent with another three. Eggs out to Simons. Over to Trent. Triple.
At the step, kick out. Trent Jr. with the three, and that one rattles in. Don't miss. Trent Jr.'s made a couple from the outside, and he's still feeling it. Trent has been feeling it, and it continues. Here. Trent Jr. will fire, and hit from deep.
Gary Trent.
Another. Zonia into the paint. Gets it out to Gary Trent for three. And Trent on the glass. He's got 9 of the team's 16 rebounds. That ankle. Anthony inside. Flips it into the corner to Trent Jr.
He's been furious.
Rolling is Little. Little kicks it to Trent Jr. He hits it. Hang their hat on first. They're only in 7th and points allowed. Trent, wrong shot. That is a
manner. But even his brother, Team Lillard's football, he does so much good as Gary Trent.
Off the handoff, wait a little bit till it gets by you.
Close out on Tolliver. Didn't let him report that three. Trent Jr. hitting the triple.
You're right.
Gary Trent Jr. Oh, geez, bangs in a three.
He's banged up in Portland. How do you keep this team locked in no matter how big the
shot there? He's so special for this team and for the city.
Whoa. By Little for Trent Jr.'s triple. He's got it. See this season.
Trent a corner three, and he gets that to fall to make. Got to deny him back. And there's Trent. Time for the kite.
Hazonia. McCollum kicks it out. Trent three. Bullseye. Lillard throws to Trent. A three is good.
Trying to get more size on Damian Lillard. They put Dorian Finney-Smith on him.
Former Big Ten Player of the Year in Purdue.
Gary Trent. That game and missed a shot at the end of regulation that would have won it. Trent for three.
Limiting the Blazers to just 24.
And you love that. You love that. It's Gary Trent.
More at his season high against the Timberwolves earlier this year with 19. On the weave, Trent.
Sat him down, and now he's back in the game, producing.
Trent. That's a three.
Game with that trifecta, 66-63. Trent answers.
That last possession.
There's Trent on the outside with 6 to shoot. Picked up by Green. Shot clock winding down. Trent. Oh, got a three.
This is the first of a long homestand for the Blazers. And there
was looking for wingspan ratio.
Oh, yeah. It's a thing. And any opportunities this year?
Nope.
Gary Trent Jr. fires the jump shot. It's good. Two-point shot is good.
Trent rattles it home.
Movement why they shot 18 for 34 from downtown. Just incredible three-point shooting.
On their 16 field goals. Miami's ahead by 3. Trent Jr. knocks it.
Because only won Western Conference Finals as a team.
Gary Trent Jr. coming up.
Something crazy, but make that extra pass to Lonnie cutting to the basket. Trent Jr. off the screen, lets it fly.
Some great defense on Carmelo Anthony early on when Hunter pushed it back up to double digits. It just never seemed all that close.
Not at all. Boy.
7 for 10 in the second half. Gary Trent.
Well, that's 4 blocks to the game for Jackson Hayes. Second among rookies in blocks, Gary Trent Jr.
All 5 starters in double figures. 3-pointer.
Better job of stopping these guys. They're getting too many open looks.
Trent gets the love of the rim on that one.
Tonight would be a great opportunity for Gary Trent Jr. to carve out some minutes.
He heard you.
There's a 3. Got it. Gary.
Game on Saturday. If they lose, they are out. And Phoenix is in against Memphis. Trent, 15-footer.
Makes this a 3-point game with that trifecta. 66-63. Trent answers. There's Trent on the outside with 6 to shoot. Picked up by Green. Shot clock winding down. Trent. Oh, got a 3.
The first of a long homestand for the Blazers. And there is Trent with the
for wingspan ratio.
Oh yeah, it's a thing. Any opportunities this year?
Nope.
Gary Trent Jr. fires the jump shot. It's good. 2-point shot is good by Trent.
Rattle that ball movement. Why they shot 18 for 34 from downtown. Just incredible 3-point shooting.
Assists on their 16 field goals. Miami's ahead by 3. Trent Jr. knocks it down.
Because only won Western Conference Finals as a team.
Gary Trent Jr. coming off a big.
That extra pass to Lonnie cutting to the basket. Trent Jr. off the screen, lets it fly. And he's at home
for the 19-year-old. Played some great defense on Carmelo Anthony early on when in the second quarter and the Thunder pushed it back up to double digits. It just never seemed all that close.
Not at all. Boy.
7 for 10 in the second half. Gary Trent.
Second among rookies in blocks, Gary Trent Jr. His dad.
Crowd loved that. All 5 starters in double figures.
3 open looks.
Trent gets the love of the rim.
Dame.
And
in Atlanta has that. Trae Young has that.
Nuggets send a defender. Gary Trent Jr. One dribble into the 3, and Gary Trent.
Individual performances here on this one. Lillard double team out to Gary Trent. Gary Trent Jr. for 3.
CJ. Here's Trent. Little push shot for 2.
surrounded. Trent will put up a 3. Nice shot.
Trent Jr. against Brandon Knight, who's just checked in.
Back to him. Trent again covered on the perimeter. Greg on a closeout. Trent gets rid.
Now he's out front guarding Damian, so he's just got to be all over the place tonight.
Gary Trent stopping pop.
Everyone involved like Jimmy does, and then scoring himself. Really impressive.
In Atlanta has that. Trae Young has that.
Zonia checks into the game for Carmelo Anthony. Collins hands off to Gary Trent Jr. Gary Trent Jr. will try a jumper.
And look, when it's going like this, analytics look for really
cover a reason.
Gary Trent, slow start, fell behind 7-0, but then seemed to rally, scored 10 straight. Gary Trent Jr. drops. He was horse collared. Trent Jr. on the left side. Dragic finding him in rhythm.
Well, the Heat come from 11 down to take the lead, but it doesn't last long.
Then they have it home,
which is a little surprising because that's such a great place to play as Gary Trent Jr.
Playing like he's 25. Time Trent.
5-run right now. Trent, the three. Got it.
5. Here is Trent. Step back three on the way and gets.
Antetokounmpo did it last year at 17 and then the most since the Big T.
Work out.